Hey everyone, welcome to Smash Trivia. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia to follow everything happening with me. I'll be the one with the big old green head in the profile picture. I'm so excited to get into this. This is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, in this series, I'm going to review everything Hulk, all the movies and TV shows, and maybe at some point I could get into the comics, but that's a while off. Maybe, as I may be starting a Patreon soon, which I may do some comic content on there. So keep on the lookout for that. Hope you enjoy. Smash Trivia presents the Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening if they could please do something for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast with all your friends, because I really want to get the Gamma Analysis to be big enough that by the time She-Hulk comes out, maybe I could become press and either get the first episode early or be invited to the premiere, or even just get one of the press goodie bags. And I'm actually 2 days from when I'm recording this, I will be emailing someone about possibly getting the press for She-Hulk. So, please, please, please wish me luck once this episode comes out. So
good luck.
Though it'll have already happened, but by the time the episode comes out, I don't know whether I'll have got a response by then or not. For this episode, we're going to review The Incredible Hulk 77, Season 2, Episode 1. It is finally back.
Woo!
And and our co-host today is Keith, aka KeithSketches, aka Filmkritter with a K. How are you doing, Keith?
Hello. I'm doing well. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing good. Nice. All right. So my trivia question for you today.
All right.
This one, it'll be a shame if you don't get it right.
All right.
What was the name? What was the name of the school that David worked at in the pilot episode?
It's
literally mentioned in this episode.
It's mentioned in this one?
Yes.
Oh shit. Oh man, I'm not good with like if I'm not going to the school, then I usually don't remember the name of it, which I mean might sound kind of shallow. But it's like I only got so much room up here in this brain for so many names and so many things. But let's say John Hopkins University of Paleontology. No, let's Schrodinger School of Psychiatric Institute. Okay. There you go.
All right. CVI. Well, I will give the answer later in the episode.
I know I'm close.
And as I always say before listening to this, please watch the episode before you listen, because this is a commentary on the episode, so it may not make a lot of sense if you have not watched the episode before listening to this podcast. And the podcast I want to shout out this week is Crossover Collision. It's a really cool podcast where they set up a battle between two comic characters every episode. And they put a ton of research into it to make it could be very accurate to what would actually happen if the two characters would fight. I listened to their episode on Deadpool versus the Batman Who Laughs, and it was fantastic. I highly recommend them.
That sounds like a really cool idea. I just recently learned about the Batman Who Laughs, and that he sounds like everybody's new favorite Batman.
Yeah, it's really interesting idea, a Joker version of the Batman who is like even more terrifying than most villains are. I would say probably. Yeah.
I just started following them on Twitter.
Having him versus Deadpool is probably like one of the best ideas that I could ever think of for a battle between two characters.
Hell yeah, I'm game. I love even just any crossover between DC and Marvel. I'm excited for the craziest of the crazies from each side. That's awesome.
All right, so let's get into this review. This episode is titled married. So,
Aw.
yeah. And, it really it felt good hearing that intro after so long of not doing these reviews. It's such a great intro.
100%. It's a nice it's a nice tone setter. It gets you right back into not only the 70s, but also just the tone of kind of half serious, half silly, super melodramatic at times, Hulk craziness, which, it was a comfort blanket for me as well to go in and be watching the Hulk. I watched it today. I'm not going to lie. I watched it this morning. I started it at 10 a.m. My fiance had a video interview, and she had just wrapped up that, and then the living room was mine. So I said, look, I gotta watch the Hulk. She's like, okay. And she had no idea what was going on, but I said, look, I'll be honest, this is a great episode.
I mean, hey, she's probably able to enjoy it, at least for that cake.
Yeah. Have her cake and eat it too. And she basically, like, I think she tuned out about 20 minutes in. She's like, I don't know what's going on. She put her headphones in. I was like, you know what? That's fine. I mean, this is for me. This is okay.
I mean, this is probably one of the episodes where you very much more need to know what's going on with the series to watch. Versus most episodes are not like that.
Agreed. Yeah. When I wasn't quite quick enough to avoid the pre-cap instead of the recap. I hate that they tell you what's going to happen before it happens. I did not know that was a thing with TV shows, but they're like, stay tuned, you might miss this exciting stuff. But I couldn't jump ahead quick enough. I saw like, what the hell's going on? He's getting married? What? Yeah, it was weird.
I actually think I think the version I had of the episode actually didn't have that recap for the first time ever.
Oh wow!
Watch it.
You must have a different copy. Yeah. Lucky duck. But that's okay. It wasn't that hard to avoid. I skipped about 2 minutes in, and then I was suddenly into that beautiful opener narration and theme song.
So, was there any like a funny things with that with that intro thing? Since like I know we've had like before one time where like they tried to make it out to seem like the Hulk is stealing people's babies. With any interesting things like that that different from what the actual episode showed.
I think what I ended up seeing in the recap or the pre-cap was, okay, he's with a woman who's apparently his wife. I think they showed like 5 seconds of their marriage. Sorry for my neighbors. They're very loud in the parking lot. I don't know if you can hear them.
Yeah, I can hear that. I was thinking like it was a TV going on in the background.
It's basically I podcast right next to the window, and I either have to run the air conditioner, which is way too loud, or crack that window. So we're getting a nice breeze here now. So the pre-cap had a marriage and a Hulk in the desert in a cage, and I was like, I have no clue what's going on. I don't know how he got to this cage after being in what looked like Hawaii. It was very confusing, but I was like, I don't want to know. Yeah. But I was very the strangeness of the pre-cap did not ruin my experience. So
yeah. So as we start this episode, we see David Banner, who is now in Honolulu, Hawaii, coming to a psychiatric institute and talking to the receptionist to try and meet a Dr. Caroline Fields.
Is it Caroline or Carolyn?
I thought Caroline, but it may be Carolyn.
They shout Carol like halfway through the episode so much that I was just like, are they saying her full name now? Or are they just, is it short? Is Carol short now? But anyways, anyways, Dr. Fields.
Yeah, I even though they started like halfway through the episode just calling her Carol, I just kept it for all my notes just saying Caroline the whole time. So just to make it seem more
that's fair,
fluent.
Yeah, that's fair. And Carol is played by, I'm just going to call her Carol now just to be careful. She is played by Mariette Hartley.
Okay.
who had been in quite a few westerns, actually, in TV shows and movies. And
Okay.
that comes in as a little teaser later, or a little Easter egg later on in the episode.
Yeah. So, the receptionist is asked if he's a patient of hers, and he says not yet. Then she tells him that she's not taking any new patients right now, that she's actually leaving today for an extended sabbatical. Oh, David asks, but I thought she was the head of the institute. She responded, yes, but Dr. Maxwell is taking over in her absence. But David doesn't want an appointment with him.
Yeah, that guy sucks. You know, if David's going to have his choosing of who he's going to talk to, an attractive woman or a guy named Dr. Maxwell, who he's never heard of, he's going to pick the attractive woman every time. He's a ladies' man first, scholar second.
Yep. At this moment, David overhears there's Dr. Maxwell in the room asking Dr. Caroline if there's anything she needs. She says no, that the university set up a great lab and that she's got to do the rest alone. They say their goodbyes, and David asks asks the receptionist if that's Dr. Fields, and then runs after her Caroline, and after her at much to the receptionist's annoyance.
Yeah, she's worried she's getting fired that day. She's like, shit, I need security.
Yeah. So
but he's very persistent with her, and I think the more desperate that David gets, the more it shows like he does not care. He's going to stalk. He's going to stalk people. He's going to get his answers. He's going to push himself into their lives.
Yeah, there are definitely some moments in this episode where I'm like, this is kind of creepy, David. This is really kind of creepy.
Why are you in her shrubberies right now? Why are you going around the side of someone's house? Yeah. All right.
So outside, David catches up to her and introduces himself as David Benton. He tells her, I know you aren't taking patients right now, but I really need your help. And he tells her a bit about his condition and how he's tried to treat it so far. And he says, I came to you mainly because of your use of hypnosis. And she is saying that he can make an appointment with someone at the institute, and he says that he would like that would be like going to one of Michelangelo's apprentices, that he really needs her.
Nice line. Well said.
She explains how she's leaving for quite a while, and that if you have a severe personal problem, you ought to understand when someone else has one.
Which was a smart line, I thought. I was like, if you can't empathize with her, and then we find out that her problem is absolutely comparable because she's freaking dying. So yeah,
definitely. You know, like in the same, and Caroline mentions she's like, our apprentices are really good at their jobs, which some later stuff in the episode, it kind of begs to differ with that.
Oh, really? I want to hear about this. I look forward to it.
To that later, but so David responds, if you only knew how hard it was to get to Hawaii to see you. And she hilariously asked, you swim? And
I did like that one.
Almost.
But she says he says something like, if you could just take some time to hear me out. And then she says, time is the one thing I don't have. Yeah. I was like, slam dunk Dr. Fields. I like that a lot. This is a very well-written episode for dialogue. I really like it.
Yeah. So after she says that, she drives off, and I wrote that at the time of listening, we know that that's obviously the case now, but I wrote that I expect that she's our love interest this episode. She very much fits the box that the majority of love interests were in the throughout the show.
Oh yeah, she's basically like Dr. Elena Marks 2.0 in some ways, but I can't say that quite definitively yet. I don't think she overtakes. I don't think she wins that battle. We'll see.
So we see her drive to a house on a hill, which and she walks inside. This is her home. And she accidentally knocks her purse onto a plant, crushing it. And she picks up a leaf from it that's half brown and has a slightly sad but still a smile look on her face. I don't know what that was all about because they didn't because that wasn't something that was brought up later or something having to do with that flower or
maybe it's because she sees the plant dying, and she's like, I relate. She's like, you and me both, plant. I don't know. I was thinking maybe that she could just relate to that plant.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just thought of that now. I was not thinking that during the scene at all.
Yeah. So the scene then transitions to David coming to the house, which if I were or Dr. Caroline at this moment, I'd be quite creeped out that this guy somehow found my house and decided to come and harass me for medical treatment.
Yeah, he basically stalks her home, pulls into her beautiful driveway, and then takes a nice self-guided tour around the premises. A beautiful house, by the way. And I don't think I had thought these kind of things before working at an interior and exterior design store that I work at now. I am noticing beautiful houses left, right, and center. This one's gorgeous, man. It's on the waterfront in Honolulu. Like, this is a beautiful piece of property. Anyways, but yeah, he stumbles around the garden and then kind of notices that she's hooked up to a bunch of nodes in a machine and got her head in a bunch of places. Yeah, she's putting herself through some deep hypnosis, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I wrote down that like, so he tries to ring the doorbell, but she doesn't answer. So he starts walking around her house, calling her name like a total creep. He finally sees her through a window, and she's sitting perfectly still in a chair, her eyes looking upward, and there's medical equipment on her. And we hear her say in her mind, keep looking up, and that she's relaxed. And she's apparently trying to put herself in hypnosis.
Which I didn't even think was something that you could do. I've heard of meditating, but I didn't know you could like guide yourself into hypnosis, which maybe I don't know the difference so much.
I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like a different kind of hypnosis compared to the suggestive, like now you think you're a chicken kind of thing that you get with like a
it's there is in real life medical hypnosis, but it's definitely not like the turning yourself into a chicken thing.
You now speak Mandarin. Go. Yeah, like it's not quite that kind of hypnosis.
From what I've heard, like for something to actually work, you have to already want it. You like there's some people on YouTube I watch every once in a while. Good Mythical Morning, and they invited a hypnotist on. And like one of them, Link, does not like tomatoes, but he wants to like tomatoes. So they use the hypnosis on him, and while he was in the state of hypnosis, he liked tomatoes. Because from what I've heard with how it works is like, even if you don't like something, if you want to like it, that's how the hypnosis can make you make it work for you.
You can't be closed off mentally. You have to be open to suggestion. You have to be open to the procedure, and then it'll finally work. It does seem, and it's the same can be said for a lot of mental health therapy, to be honest. Like when people sit in group therapy or they sit in behavioral therapy and they learn what the tools that they could use to help themselves, if they're rejecting all that or they're rolling their eyes at it, I know even myself was like being told what I could do to be happier in university when I was younger. And I was very rejecting of it because I looked at everything, back then I thought I knew everything. And I thought, oh, this person's full of shit. They couldn't possibly solve it. But those people are smart. So yeah, it's funny how much you can really reject something mentally and then just never reap the benefits.
Definitely. And I think though it is definitely probably a much more fantastical version of hypnosis in this episode, I do think they actually did a pretty good job of treating it in that medical way, and also how and using a lot of how it is in real life of how hypnosis works.
And of course, and especially for the time too.
Oh yeah,
like 1979, or I guess this might have been even come out in 1980. Like, this episode is treating it really respectfully and imagining it like, I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't have expected that for the time that it came out. Nowadays, it's like, okay, there's these practices that people need to try out and give a chance, and they would have been probably what's the word? Perceived much differently in a television show.
Yeah. So, so David, we said that he's just looking in the window this whole time like a creep, and we see then and Caroline's skull, and then her blood cells for a moment, and then a bell rings, startling Caroline, but she doesn't stop. The bell rings again. And then we see a bit more of the inside of her body, which, as I've said many times, I saw at the show, I love how real it looks whenever they show these things, which surprises me for something from the 70s.
I was thinking about you when I was seeing this part. I was thinking about how you said that about the first episode we watched. And this is this is even better still. Clearly, they have a little bit more money, a little bit more time, and probably some new tricks to show the inside of the cells and the mitochondria and the bones and the muscle tissue. They show all these things that are really impressive that probably would have all been done with CG now. There's no way it was done with CG then. So
it might even have looked worse with Nurse doing it with CG now.
Yeah, very true. It would have been like, oh, that's CG, and this is just more fascinating to see because it's practical interior readings of how your body physiologically works. It's weird, very cool.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see. So then she says that I will conquer this thing that's trying to destroy me. And then we see a shot of her brain, and then all of a sudden she's in a massive amount of pain. David runs to get inside, but the door is locked, and she falls to the floor. And David breaks the glass door to get in.
Yeah,
and a bit of glass has cut David's arm, but he doesn't let that stop him. And he does something to her mouth with his hand. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing here.
Does he clear her throat or get her to bite down on something? I can't.
I don't know. But he does this multiple times throughout the episode. I think whenever he's trying to help her through these seizures, is putting his hand on her mouth. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah.
But thank God he stalked her to her house and then broke into her house to save her. I mean, this could be, if it was just a misunderstanding. What if she was just practicing her one-woman show in which she has a seizure, and he would have been charged with all sorts of things. But luckily, she was having an actual seizure. I think that the scene was very, very scary. The way they shot over top of her head with a wide-angle lens, and it's really close to her face, and then she collapses to the floor with these other angles. It was really terrifying.
Yeah. So he then puts her feet up on a table and covers her with a blanket, and he runs onto the kitchen and grabs a bottle of something to pours it in a towel and rubs it on her mouth.
Ammonia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
basically the opposite of chloroform. People would use that all the time. You see it used in I was just rewatching Stranger Things, and they use it to wake up Will Byers after he's passed out once he's possessed by the mind flare. No spoilers intended.
Okay.
But it's like a household kitchen product back then that they could easily just put on a rag and wake somebody up. It's pretty
Interesting.
interesting. I don't know how like long-term breathing in of that stuff could do to you. Probably not great,
Probably not.
but it'll definitely jolt the system and wake you up back, especially back in those
Okay.
days. Nowadays, you could probably find a better, safer way to do it, but
Yeah,
in a pinch,
probably.
maybe not.
Which it makes sense I'm using it in Stranger Things since that show is set in the 80s. So,
Exactly.
so
Household tricks.
yep. So let's see. This gets her to come to, and she understandably asks, "What are you doing here?" And David just smiles and says, "Trying to help." She thanks him. But this is still creepy behavior on David's part. It really is.
I basically wrote that they get talking, and it's revealed that he knows a lot about the same fields as her. And so his scientific knowledge and his medical fields makes him a fast friend to people. He's always making friends quickly with people who should probably look at him as a creepy wanderer. And it's just like, oh, you saved my life? Oh, okay. Well, we're best friends now. Let's get a milkshake.
Yeah. So let's see. She patches his arm up from the door, and he apologizes for breaking it and asks, "Isn't it dangerous you living here alone while dealing with these seizures?"
Yes.
And she tells him that this last one was the most severe and it's getting worse. She says that it's similar to ALS, and she asks how he knows this. He says that he was involved in advanced genetics, and she asks if he worked with David Banner, and he says quite closely. And again, just like with the zoo episode, though this ends up not actually being the case. I was surprised by this moment that she, being a doctor, she didn't just immediately recognize this as the same guy.
Yeah.
The only thing I can guess is that papers back in the 70s did not have people's faces on them.
I think if
they would today.
I think if he was in a different field, maybe. I think if the guy was a pro athlete, absolutely. But scientists, even celebrity scientists, probably never had to pose for pictures nearly as much as the famous stars, the glitz and glamour that you get with the celebrities that way. So I mean, you didn't have the internet, so you couldn't just look up somebody's Facebook or look up somebody's face on Google. Yeah, she has people don't know what this guy looks like. What's funny is, if you were to describe him, he looks like everybody else. That's why he kind of blends right in.
Yep. So she asked why did he abandon research on diseases such as mine? Oh damn, oh shit. Oh fuck.
Yeah,
seriously. That is quite the question.
And he kind of scoffs, and he's like, he's kind of like, I was waiting for the day. It almost looked like a look on his face, like I was waiting for the day for somebody to ask me this. It's like, well, why would you assume you would ever meet somebody? It was really funny. I thought it was impressive that she made the connection, and I love that in general, this connection to the first ever episode of The Incredible Hulk. Many parallels to that first episode. Like, definitely. We'll get into more later, but this is a very clever way to not only remind audiences of his origins, in case you are that casual viewer who popped into season 2 because your family members were watching it, but also to like reset the stage, to reinform the audience of what he has to lose.
I'm very happy that this episode is a very important episode as the premiere of the second season. Isn't unlike how they had with the finale of the first season was just a normal episode. It wasn't anything special at all.
Yeah, because the finale, we thought it made more sense for the finale to be the earthquakes one, right?
Yeah.
And what was the finale? Actually, what was the name of it?
The waterfront story, and it was and it was about him working at that restaurant.
What a weird one for the finale.
Yeah,
I remember that one entirely now. It's just, it seems like it should be mid-season. It seems out of order.
Yeah, it really was weird.
They had that same thing happen with you ever watch Community?
Yeah.
Season 3 of Community ended in a similar way, where they actually had to do the episodes out of order, and the episode that would have made most sense for the finale ended up being like pushed back or pushed forward because it took too long to make the 8-bit video game episode. So everything was out of order as opposed to the script, what made sense in the script. So they had to cut out a lot of dialogue scenes that would make more sense. But it's because the showrunner got fired that season. So they were like, we're ending it. And then that
was the gas leak season.
Yeah, right before the gas leak season. When they brought it back for season 4 without Dan Harmon, it was they thought they were done. And then it was like, I guess we'll continue on without him for one season. Yeah. Anyway, things sometimes it's weird how some shows, some business decision or some creative difference happens and things get shuffled around, and so it doesn't make much sense. But yeah, like you say, I'm glad an important episode, an important story was our premiere episode for season 2.
Oh yeah. So
very contemplative episode. I liked it.
Yeah, David it says that his wife died, and after that his work took on other priorities. He's in two songs. What a shame. He was brilliant. And David slips up here and says, "Thank you."
What a slip up.
Yeah.
You can ask my fiance. I audibly gasped at this moment when he does slip up and then just goes with it and tells her that he's like, I was like, oh my God, he did it. And my fiance was like, what?
Yeah,
what happened?
I was just like, what?
It's like, he hasn't told anybody. Yeah. He's like actively trying to never be discovered, and he tells someone for the first time, and thank God it was the right person.
She says,
and she'll never live to tell the tale.
David Banner was killed in a fire, and David responds simply, "No." And oh my God,
she's like,
I just wrote, "Holy shit!" Yeah. This is the first time he's telling someone. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh man.
He hasn't been able to be himself in what I would assume is like a year. I don't know if we've been able to track it with newspapers or anything, but I feel like they've been showing like a year of adventures. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking because of the whole TV formula of a season, but it feels like it's been a year.
She asked why he hasn't revealed himself to anyone. He says, "Have you read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?" And he mentioned some other books, but I didn't catch what he said with those other books. So I'm not going to mention those other books here. Yeah.
But Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde's like, to me, he's still, even with all the rumors and all the stories he's heard of what Hulk does when he's hulking, he still looks at the Hulk as a villain, because that's Mr. Hyde was notoriously a evil force in Dr. Jekyll's life. So it really, it's a shame to hear him compare it to. I felt a little sad for Lou Ferrigno.
Definitely. So he shows her a newspaper clipping of Hulk from the New York City episode. And he tells her that he came to see if her hypnosis would help him control the beast. And I wrote that, interestingly, he's finally not trying to completely erase Hulk from existence, but merely tame him.
True.
I still don't like that he's like he's trying to tame him and aim him and control him, but at least it's a step.
But you know what, John? Shirt prices went up in 79. So that's the main reason I think he's like, you know what? I can't keep getting, even thrift stores are charging too much for shirts these days. So he's like, fuck this. I got to at least save my own wardrobe. That's what's going on, really.
Oh, yeah. Though I don't think he buys most of his shirts. I think he probably steals it from people.
Yeah, he keeps walking through neighborhoods. It's all these parts we don't see in the series where he's just walking through neighborhoods looking for like a laundry line, and he's like, "Oh, okay, this looks about my size."
Remember in the earthquake episode, there just happened to be a shirt lying around in this nuclear chamber that Amber for him to put on.
True. Doesn't make a lick of sense. Fair.
So he said she says that I can't help you, David. The hypnosis might help, but my disease is terminal. Latest test results give me 6 to 8 weeks to live. She tells him how she's trying to use the hypnosis to help her disease, that's why she left the institute, that she has to spend every moment on herself. She says that sounds pretty selfish, doesn't it? And David doesn't really respond to that, but he just asks if she would like some help with it.
And she says, from David Banner? Of course I would.
Yeah.
The adoration
but
that I saw
doesn't
in
seem
her eyes.
fair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. She says, doesn't seem fair, does it?
Yeah.
He says, would you like some help? Mm-hmm. She's like, from David Banner? Of course I would. And this moment where this sweet smile washes over her face, and she eventually follows it up by saying, like, she says it seems selfish, and he says, well, maybe if we can make more time for you, there'll be time for me. And that was, again, this episode's writing, top notch. I really like the dialogue in this episode. You get those like cheesy lines once in a while, and we'll get to the cheesy, don't worry. But the moments between him and Carol really shine.
Yeah, they definitely do. Let's see. So, she says, yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, I heard that. So David says, if we make more time for you, then maybe we can make time for me. And so we then see her mitochondria under a microscope. And she says that the staff at the institute was still trying to locate them after a week, which I found this really funny because of how she talked of the staff earlier when David follows her to her car. Like she's saying earlier how our apprentices are really good at what they do, but it took them a week to find her mitochondria.
Yeah, that's not great. That feels like the training is not quite there yet.
Yeah. I just think it's funny how she's trying to make it think that they're really good at their jobs, but then we find out that they really weren't actually.
Well, that's when she thought she was talking to David Benton.
Benton.
And she thought she was just talking to some guy and not the David Banner with a Hulk problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. So,
trying to pawn
David tells
crappy associates.
Yeah. David tells her that he thinks the mitochondria is part of the reason for her disease, and I love that we're getting David doing some sciencey stuff this episode, which is really cool.
Of course.
Yep.
Bixby sells it too. Like every time I see him
Oh
talking about,
yeah,
he talks about that thing with the being like a 10-year-old kid learning about body temperatures and stuff later. It's like you sell that this guy, he sells that this kid is 100% a huge science geek and always has been, and he
definitely.
does it well.
And in the morning, we hear the Lonely Man theme as David is still looking at the microscope,
Yeah,
which I found really interesting that they put the Lonely Man theme in here.
they use it a lot in this episode. I feel like it's used
I
almost
didn't
every scene.
I
Maybe
didn't
maybe I'm
notice
wrong.
it. I didn't notice it until other than this scene in the last scene of the episode. But yeah, I was surprised. I was like, this doesn't really feel like a moment for the Lonely Man music. He's
Yeah,
not exactly a lonely man right now. He is living with someone now.
yeah. They I feel like they are using it to mean more than just like now it's almost like the Hulk theme, like the Hulk
Yeah,
show, instead of like the moments where he's at his loneliest.
yeah,
Yeah, it could mean a little bit less than it used to, but I see what you mean.
yeah,
And by staying up late hours, though, I mean, he's staying up these late hours looking at her situation under the microscope. She's able to rest more. So
yeah,
she's in that he's providing her longevity in that way alone, because you can't, I would
definitely.
imagine every hour of sleep matters when it comes to a brain problem.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, it's nice that she gets to take the night off and he can stay up
yeah.
all night. Teamwork makes the freaking dream work is what I'm trying to say.
Carol, I asked him, what time is it, and he if he stayed up all night, and um, David responds simply, "Hmm," Uh, and she says, I think I'm having a conversation with a hummingbird, which I found that absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it was, they have some really good chemistry, probably
Definitely.
better than we've seen with any female interest, love interest in this entire show,
Yeah.
except for maybe Elena Marks. Just saying.
Uh, so David tells her, look at this, and she sees the mitochondria, but there's something around it. And so the two of them go sit on the beach to discuss it. David does not know where it came from, at least, but they at least have a clear image to work with for her hypnotherapy. And David asks how she does that, and she responds saying that visualizing it as the mitochondria and the as cowboys and the bad stuff as renegade Indians.
I don't love this analogy.
Yeah, I don't really love it either. No.
Let's make the in air quotes, because you can't see me, Indians be the negative substance, and they have to wipe out the enemy.
I really don't. Yeah, I did not like that.
However, it does lead to us getting a Bill Bixby John Wayne impression, which wasn't half bad, so that's fun. But they're referencing all these old Western movies, which unfortunately were not quite as enlightened and empathetic as today. So we wouldn't have that shit showing up in today's Hulk. But I did appreciate a good John Wayne impression here and there.
So David says it's like a wagon train, and the Indians are around it and attacking it. And then David does his John Wayne impression, in which, unlike you, I'm just like, ew, because John Wayne sucks.
Oh no! Does John Wayne suck? I didn't know.
John Wayne was notoriously racist.
No, you're right. No, you're right. I do remember that.
I just always have not been when I was a kid. I always found his one, I found his films boring, and two, I always that was a nickname that one of my cousins had for me. I always hated it when they would say it. So and
because you're tall.
So No, this was when I was a kid, like a
That doesn't make
really
any sense.
it's just because of the name John.
That's
So he
stupid.
called me a John Wayne.
It
I
makes more
hated it.
sense now.
So
You're like 8'7". How tall are you?
so
And then John Wayne was that notoriously tall guy as well, and the name John. That would make way more sense. I mean, and
yeah,
you're not a little racist, right?
no.
Okay, cool. There you go. So you're nothing like
Like,
John Wayne. Is the
well, I
big-
mean, yeah, but so I just I've now
You
really
hate him.
kind of grown to hate the
Yeah,
guy.
that's fair. That's fair. My dad was nuts about John. I don't think he knew about the racist shit, but my dad was nuts about John Wayne to the point where we bought him like a DVD set that came in like an old tin, like you'd get in like an old like covered wagon like this.
Mhm.
It was very cute DVD set, and we'd watch those movies together. I actually during one of the lockdowns a couple years ago was like a psychopath, I decided to commit to watching 75 Western movies in a row. And I tried my
That
damnedest to get through them all. I
that
think I got
sounds
to about,
painful.
yeah, I think I got to about 45. I
Oh,
tried to watch like 10,
yes.
10 or more from each decade of Westerns. And
Mhm.
a lot of them, go figure, were John Wayne. So there were a few that I was like, oh, damn, I kind of get the appeal because he kind of was like an everyman kind of actor, and in the situations that he did a lot of his own stunts and stuff, you could see some appreciation there. But hearing, yeah, I know, I did kind of know that he was a little bit of a racist, and that definitely doesn't make
Yeah.
me adore the guy. I just think he's that
I
number one, like that's an impression
I
people
understand.
do everywhere.
Yeah, as I said,
So
uh, I honestly, westerns are one type of film that I have a lot of trouble watching because I just find I honestly just find a lot of westerns to be really boring.
they are.
Like
I can promise you they are.
the
After watching that many of them, I was very bored.
I can say with full certainty the only westerns I have watched in recent years that I actually enjoyed is The Ridiculous Six, which
Oh
is a
no,
parody,
John, no.
and A Million Ways to Die in the West, which is another parody.
Oh, you're hurting me. You're hurting me inside. I watched so many westerns that I could probably tell you one good one from each decade that I think even you would enjoy. And they're not parodies. They're fun time, and they're not super boring. Like there were definitely ones in this challenge that I did for myself that that had a lot of trouble getting through, and I'd watch them in segments. But sometimes I would just power through, and I'd be like, okay, I'm putting the headphones in, I'm shutting the rest of the world off, because otherwise I was just stuck to the YouTube and the TV as far as like political stuff. And I was like, I gotta get my mind away from this crap. So I would watch movies instead, and to veer down a genre that my dad was a big fan of, I was like, okay, I'm in a way connecting with his passion for them. So, but I would watch, there were some that were like in the 50s, there was some musical ones. There were a lot of black and white ones in the early 40s. There was a ton of different types of westerns over the years, but there was probably a really exciting one every decade that I could recommend to people of today. But I know what you mean. They are boring, they are slow, purely because the years that they came out, they don't come out anymore. People don't make westerns, and if they are making westerns, it's modern westerns like No Country for Old Men or Hell or High Water. There's like these like westerns that take place in the 80s with bank robbers and stuff.
I think the only western that's come out recently that I actually do want to watch is The Harder They Fall, which is
yes,
I do want to watch that mainly because though I haven't really seen him in anything else other than Loki, I really enjoyed Jonathan Majors and Loki, so I want to watch some more of his stuff.
And he's the fucking man in that movie. He is the leader of the gang. He sings. He's violent. He's emotional. He's tender. There's amazing moments with Jonathan Majors in that movie. Also amazing moments with Lakeith Stanfield. There's the two guys that play his lackeys in Jonathan Majors' gang are amazing. Idris Elba is awesome. That movie is also a fantastic soundtrack. So the director of that movie is a British musician / music video director that has done some movies, but he also sings, and he had a lot of reggae influences in this. Like, he just wanted to say, hey, what about the African American war, or like African American cowboys that existed that no one talks about, and they were incredible. It's a sick movie, man. You really have to. Harder They Fall, top tier, so much fun.
Definitely. All right. So, she says that so once the image in my head, once I have the image in my head, I just imagine the cowboys wiping out the enemy and winning the battle. Oh, and David asks if this actually helps, and she says it's not a cure, but it gives the patients an active involvement in trying to help themselves get well. And David skeptically says, then she says, oh wait, David says, now that I know how your theory works, I don't know if it could help me. And she says, well, this is just one technique, there's many. Let me hypnotize you, David. And so we see them in sitting in a dark room, and David says, not David, Caroline says, as you don't look relaxed. And David says that there's a very real potential danger here, that I don't know what might happen. And I wrote that, did David seriously not realize before coming to Hawaii that he'd have to be relaxed to be put into hypnosis?
True.
I feel like he should have thought about that.
Yeah. He came here with all he came here seeking hypnotherapy, specifically from the top scientist in hypnotherapy, and yet he's now just realizing the danger. I wrote that he really didn't seem to profess or explain the risk that is happening or could happen to Carol, and I was laughing at that, but then it means two things in my eyes. It means he trusts her, and it means he's kind of starting to trust the Hulk, in the sense that he knows the Hulk hasn't hurt anybody who doesn't deserve to be hurt. So I think he knows that even though he could turn into the Hulk, she's probably safe, which is nice.
But if he is starting to trust the Hulk, then he shouldn't be trying to control the Hulk.
Trust, I mean, that he might just mean that he's accepted that the Hulk is part of him, but he looks at him as this like mongrel, this like dog, this attack dog in his psyche that he can control instead of get rid of, which is a kind of a progress, right?
Yeah, it's definitely better than trying to take him out of existence.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Progress. By season 5, they'll be in love.
So Caroline directs him into to take him a deep breath. He does, and then she says, we'll begin. And after some time, she says, you are deeply asleep and very relaxed and comfortable. She says, I want you to recall the events that led up to the first metamorphosis, but as an objective observer. Meaning you won't have any emotion towards or what is happening. She says, tell me, what do you remember? And so David explains to her what happened, and right before the first time he turned into the Hulk, which I'm not gonna read out here all of what happened there, because you can I suggest you listen to my first episode of the 70s Hulk if you want to hear about that first transformation, because we saw all of that in that episode.
Can I give you just the part I loved about this recalling? So, I mean, he explains the whole thing, explains why it happened. He's fixing the tire and everything. He finally cries out and he starts transforming. The best part of this recalling is how he describes turning into the Hulk for the first time. And he's present in the moment, and he's describing it in a new way. And I loved these descriptions. He says, like 100 people shouting at once, like a locomotive beginning to roll. I felt the surging infusion of strength, my muscles vibrating with a strange life of their own. I could feel a force welling up inside of me. And then I blacked out. And I loved that description because the way he dramatically said that was so like, okay, now I know what it would feel like. To think that he felt that every time he's transformed. Well written, really good.
Oh yeah. After that, after he explains all that, Caroline says, all right, now we're going to try and bring you into a conscious awareness of what happened after you blacked out. And David, for the first time, actually remembering some of what happened as he was Hulk. And Caroline tells him that was excellent. Now I want you to recall the second time. And he tells her how he was dreaming of his wife, Laura. Which I may be forgetting, but I don't remember us actually getting her name in that first episode out of Laura.
Yeah, I could. Honestly, I didn't know her name is Laura until you just said it. So it has been mentioned so few times. I feel it might never have been mentioned in that first episode. You're right.
So I like getting that name. I am here. Which I don't think, since he said that he's got that second time was while he was dreaming of Laura. I don't think we knew that what he was dreaming about. We could have guessed it, but I don't think we actually saw in that first episode that was what was going on. I think we just saw that he was that he just turned into the Hulk in his sleep in that hyperbolic chamber.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even, when he was describing the second time he ever transformed, I was blanking on this experience that he was having. I was like, what? When did this happen? And then I did not remember that it happened in the chamber.
Yeah. So he tells her about his recurring nightmare about how his wife died in a car accident, and David explains how he couldn't get her out of the car, and he's not able to remain motionless here. He all of a sudden gets up with his from his seat, angry. His eyes are tinted green, and he starts turning into the Hulk. And I love how here we got on a new shot of Bill in the Hulk makeup, which is much better than the shots of transformation during the first season.
Yeah,
this definitely makes it look like this is literally Bill if it was him playing Hulk.
Yeah,
which is really cool to me.
They probably did some updating, just like with either the being able to afford the right makeup or the process once they practiced enough. But yeah, it looked awesome. And the lighting on him was really smart too. They had like a lighting from below, which made him really scary. It was an awesome scene. Agreed.
Definitely. So let's see. As I said, as you said, we got this fantastic shot of Hulk's face in the dark with the only light coming from a lamp. And it's like something straight out of a horror film. I loved it.
Yeah.
So Hulk pushes over the lamp and throws the chair. And I wrote, "Oh, how I've missed this destruction."
It's true. You gotta wonder where they get all their furniture. They're like, is it all gonna be props? How long do people take or time? How much time do they take building fake furniture and stuff? Oh, what a fun job Ferrigno has.
And he's about to smash another thing when Caroline shouts, "No!" And so he turns around, annoyed that someone dare tell him to stop the smashing.
But someone else, other than Elena Marks, tries to verbally stop the Hulk. She tries tries her best. I don't know anybody else that's tried to do that. I can't remember, but I don't think anyone else has been successful. That's for sure.
he kicks a table over, and he grabs a lamp and throws it behind him, breaking the glass of the door. And I find it hilarious how this is the second time now that the door's glass broke in this episode. It's the exact same door. So Hawk and Hawk are backing up towards the door, and he gets his arm cut by a bit of glass, just like David's, but it was the other arm this time.
I found this strange. Have we seen his arm get pierced by something like glass while in Hulk mode?
I don't know about glass. That's the only thing I think we've seen is in the New York episode when he gets that forklift into his leg.
Right. And does it pierce that? Like, does it cause blood, or is it like a bruise?
I don't think it caused blood.
People have shot at him, right?
And it didn't really affect him while he was in Hawk mode, but David was limping once he left Hawk mode.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, pierced by glass when he's in Hulk mode, but bullets can't penetrate his skin. And maybe I'm not remembering that right, but I'm pretty sure people have tried to shoot him and nothing penetrate. But I was shocked at like the fact that I'm not that shocked that a 1970s dramatic sci-fi show would have superhero inconsistencies that us nerds of today would jump all over the internet and social media and be freaked out about and be like, hey, this didn't line up. But like back then it was like, okay, well, this serves the story, we need to explain it, and then it did come up later. So I was like, okay, that makes sense, but this has got to come up later or else they have no reason to pierce Hulk's skin.
Yep. David breaks the door frame and runs outside. And the scene transitions to a shirtless guy screaming while spinning a fire stick for some kind of performance at a cookout.
I love that so much that the very next cut is a fire dancer screaming into the camera. Like just like ah! Like, it was great.
It's just like, what the hell is going on?
It was a brilliant juxtaposition, and then
a
group of vacationers are just enjoying a nice fire show dance, and
I really enjoyed that. This probably had probably one of my like most audible like reactions when watching it, because I was just like, wait, what the hell's going on?
Well, it paid off so well too, because they cut to him. Okay, he's yelling because of the performance. It's part of the performance. And then the Hulk lumbers into frame behind all these vacationers enjoying the performance and having a nice little luau, and then he screams again, the exact same scream. I'm wondering how all the vacationers knew that wasn't part of the song or wasn't part of and he just yells again, and then they all turn around and scream again and then run away. All except for that one kid.
Yep.
And when I saw this dance happening too, I was like, he mentioned twice in that hypnosis session that he remembers fire. The first time he transformed was a flaming car. The second time he was dreaming about his wife's accident in the car and the car catching on fire. I was like, oh, he's going to freak out at this fire dance and like run after him, and that just didn't happen. And I was like, oh, good, okay, everybody's safe. he just moseyed off.
So everyone runs away except for this one little boy. The little boy is amazed by Hulk, and Hulk just walks past him, and the boy's presumably mom comes and grabs him. And though we don't see this mom again later, so I don't know. That was it.
Well, most neglectful parents ever.
Oh yeah.
We'd never see him as parents again.
Caroline walks over to this deserted cookout looking for David. she finds Hulk sitting on the ground, and she kneels in front of him, and Hulk looks very sad as he turns back into Banner.
Yeah.
And back at the...
I actually did shout at the TV when she was out there looking for him with her lantern and yelling David. I was like, he doesn't respond to that.
Yeah,
Hulk
yeah,
doesn't
like Hulk is
respond
not going to respond to you calling him David.
I was like, he's more like an alter. Like he doesn't know that
Yes.
he's David. He's someone else. He has his own identity.
Yeah. It's that's the whole reason why I don't like this idea of
containing him.
Bruce or David trying to take the Hulk out of existence or control him, is because the Hulk is a different person, is not just David.
Yeah.
And I imagine, like, there's points later in the episode where Caroline directly looking at Hulk calls him David, and I feel like that would make him even madder because this is not David. What will it take for people to understand this is not David?
He has a name, and I guess it was given to him by Jack McGee.
Though I don't think in this series, at least many people have actually called him Hulk to his face before yet. No. So I do wonder how he would react if someone actually like Captain America was like, Hulk.
I think his response would probably be something like something like that. That weird Lou Ferrigno growl. I don't even think it's him doing it, but yeah. Anyways.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Back at the house, David is cleaning up Hulk's mess as Caroline says, "I couldn't believe it was happening. It was the most incredible thing I've ever witnessed." And she notices the wounds on his arms from the glass on the door. One is half healed, the one that was gotten while in David's form, and the other is almost healed already, the one that was gotten in Hulk form. Which I think this is actually the first time in the series that they've actually talked about the fact that Hulk does have super healing.
Yeah, his metabolism
he doesn't just have super strong skin. He actually can heal it super fast. Yeah. And I really like that they mentioned that
and that's like the whole cause of their wanting to collaborate, right? They want to use him to save her because then they could speed up her healing process. Yeah, it's definitely, it's really cool. I agree.
Oh yeah. So let's see. David explains how it works, and this gives Caroline the idea to possibly get some of the highly active muscle from Hulk, and so that maybe she could use it to reverse her disease. And David is not sure that that's a good idea, but Caroline says that if I can help you control it, maybe we could get the sample and we could both win. And David asks if she's forgetting how hazardous it could be if they try this. Right. And she responds, dying is hazardous. And and David says, okay, let's try it then.
That convinced me pretty quickly as well.
I love that line. Yeah. Dying is hazardous.
Yeah. She got nothing to lose. And do you find it a little bit reminiscent? Okay, it's crazy that we're watching this episode with a man and a woman in a tropical haven with scientific experimentation at their fingertips, mixing Hulk DNA a month before She-Hulk releases. I'm just saying, the trailer for She-Hulk gave me tingly feeling because I was like, holy shit, I want so badly to see the influence that the 70s Hulk series has on the She-Hulk show.
There's definitely gonna be influence on it from there. There's literally like in their first little snippet that they released back in November, there was a bit where they had like
The
I'm
McGee
guessing,
thing,
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
guessing it was supposed to be like a advertisement for her as a lawyer. I don't know why Bruce was there with her
right?
in it, but like she was saying in that the direct line from it of you won't like me when I'm angry, and
Yeah.
they're
And
wearing the
posed in the same
clothes,
positions, and
and they're also wearing those same clothes. They had the camera uh, uh having a filter on it to make it look like it was outside in the 70s.
yeah. It
Oh,
was.
I loved
I
it.
want. That's the thing is like, there's little nods like that, but if it's, I want more than just a quote or two. I want the whole show to feel like, oh shit, this is what we're trying to do. Is instead of a Hulk TV show that's really popular and really fun, starring Bruce or David, we're seeing the She-Hulk having her time in the spotlight that's just as good, type of thing, and
Oh
the
yeah.
same phenomena that we see
Uh,
from that original series coming back in
mhm.
this. I want so
Yeah.
much influence from the Hulk series, but
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
So I was talking to a friend of mine on Twitter, She-Hulk sources, or this was the account page, and they about they were asking you like what would you want for She-Hulk at Comic-Con, because as Marvel is going to be at Comic-Con this year, and I suggested like having like before the trailer starts, they have Tatiana Maslany come up on their air, not in CGI but actually in just like green paint like out of the 70s show. And she being like, I hey Marvel fans, and I'm Jennifer Walters, and here's my trailer. But also, as a response to some of you who complained about my body, I have changed my looks. I was forced to change my looks, and acting like this green paint is the
Yeah,
changed look. Before like in the actual trailer showing the a real update to the CGI,
yeah,
I like I was thinking like having like as she ends her ends this little um speech of it's about the new CGI. I You could hear like her mutter under her breath that people should be commenting on other people's bodies.
yes, it'd be amazing. I would love that.
I mean, it would be such a great. It would fit She-Hulk so well.
Yeah, it would fit
Uh,
the bill perfectly.
Oh yeah, and then
100%.
they all and also just having also it'd be cool them having that little reference to the 70s show by having the her in green paint,
Yeah,
which I can just imagine how people would react thinking that is the updated CGI, even though it's
yeah,
not CGI.
yeah. They're like, here, you wanted something more real. This is real. This green paint is real. Damn it. We had to get it specially made. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that also would also make it so that that for them having a special little clip thing for Comic-Con on the CGI people who are trying to work on updating that CGI, they don't have to also work on this entirely new scene for Comic-Con
Yeah.
on when they're already extremely busy.
Yeah, exactly. That would make
Yeah.
sense too. Yeah.
All right. So the scene transitions to David in the desert. We hear Caroline tell him to begin to look for the creature. David says, I don't see him anywhere. And the camera pans over this beautiful desert. And then, oh my God, David sees Hulk in the distance now. Caroline tells him to stay calm and let him get closer. Hulk walks over to David, and as Hulk gets very close, David starts running away, and David gets in a crane with a trap attached to the end. He drops the trap onto Hulk. I wrote that Hulk ain't gonna like that.
It's funny though, her encouraging him to believe in those ropes and to really, and it's funny to it really in this hypnosis desert as we're viewing, belief is what matters, and him really having confidence in the fact that those ropes are going to hold. And no sooner does she say, these are the strongest ropes that have ever been made or that can be made, Hulk snaps through them like spaghetti.
Oh yeah, and you know it is really cool that this is one. I think this is the first time I'm in the series that we actually see Hulk and David together on screen, which is so cool to see.
Absolutely, it is. This and it was funny because you'd think that this is like jumping ahead or like rushing to suddenly come back from commercial break and suddenly be in a hypnosis desert and the audience is just supposed to understand what's going on. But it was so easy to grasp and be like, oh shit, this is amazing that we're getting this far along in their process.
This is something I really want to see with the MCU Hulk is like I love this idea of exploring their mental health through seeing them both in a mindscape together.
Yes,
and them having to come to terms with each other through that. I think that's an incredible way to show things like this, and I'm glad that the 70s show actually did this.
How cool would it be to have a character like Elena Marks or like Carolyn Fields showing up in the She-Hulk series, or somebody from the show, some character that we've seen, and maybe they're not from the comics, but the reference would be still so much fun to have him enlist the help of some other scientist.
We know from the Incredible Hulk film that there is a student and from the university that is named Jack McGee. It was actually of which whom is actually the person who recorded the video for the school newspaper of Hulk fighting the military. Right. So I could easily see them bringing back a character like that for She-Hulk, sort of like how they brought back Martin Starr as the teacher in Homecoming, and they retroactively said that is the same character.
Nice. Yeah, it would be great to see these little side characters and references to Hulk that only Hulk has help to develop that world for Hulk in the greater
definitely
MCU. Be great. Yeah. I can't wait, man.
Oh yeah. So let's see. So
even though the Hulk breaks through, I was just gonna say that even though Hulk breaks through the net, Carolyn reassures him that he'll gain the confidence with practice, and this was a great first step. And he's a little
I honestly really felt bad for Hulk here when they dropped those ropes on him. I like that.
Yeah,
that's really sad me seeing Hulk being them trying to cage Hulk like that, and they keep doing it throughout the episode.
But it makes you wonder now. He's in hypnosis right now. So is that his conjuring of the Hulk and what the Hulk means to him? Or is that actually a Hulk that's going to remember all of this? And it to me, it played with that wonder until the later scene that we get in the bedroom.
Yeah, I think there's a bit. I think there's definitely a bit of it being the actual Hulk.
He remembers it all, eh?
Yeah,
I think that's shown with that dream that he has later.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit! The Hulk remembered everything you're trying to do, and he's on to you.
Mm-hmm. So, let's see. So Caroline, and as you mentioned, that to research him, and like she says, he's going back now. Next time we'll try something better, and we'll keep doing that until we can control him permanently. Hulk walks away, but turning back once to growl at David. And I just love that that Hulk turned back to face Ace David real quick here.
It's like when you walk away from your crush and she turns back, it's like, oh, she cares. she digs me. It's like, no, it doesn't quite mean that.
I don't know if that's what Hulk's feeling right here.
Did he look? Did he look at? you're like hoping. You're like, oh, did he look at me? Yeah, it's a little different.
So, Caroline tells David then I'm gonna come back from 5 and you will wake up. And then David wakes up and the scene transitions to Caroline working with some test tubes. And David walks in and with groceries and makes a joke about him making dinner and how those test tubes don't look like enough for 2. And I wrote out how I love when David tries to be funny in the series. It's so wholesome.
It is, and he's such a charmer. I love Bill Bixby's charm. I think in this moment it's when they start doing the Chinese voice, which is kind of alarming.
Yeah.
But then she says something about it sounding a little bit more like Elmer Fudd.
Actually, I think that's a bit later.
Yes,
because there's multiple scenes of him doing grocery stuff in the episode.
True, but he has a moment over the phone with her where he does this again when he's trying to learn how to make lemon chicken, and he starts talking like that, and it's like, shit, he's doing it again. But again, 1970s ignorance.
Yeah. So. Let's see. David tells her that he what he picked up for dinner, and then she asks about what's this box, and he opens it to reveal a wok, and they make some cute, I guess, jokes about woks and rabbits.
Yep, woks and wabbits.
Yeah. And then they do the Elmer Fudd impressions, which is so much more fun, at least in my mind, than the freaking John Wayne impression.
Yes, agreed.
Caroline leaves the room, and she's gets this sharp pain causing her to drop the test tubes. And David comes over to help her, and after he helps her, she goes to clean the glass, and David just stands there with a sad look on his face. And then outside, we see Jack McGee just pulled up to the house in his car.
Oh my God. I thought the shit had hit the fan in this moment.
Oh yeah, I literally wrote down, holy fuck. Jack knocks on the door and David yells, I'll get it.
I love this moment because the panning shot from the front, there's this big front window, right? Yeah. So you can see the front door on one side of this like wraparound like dining room. So they pan with the camera past the front door and it's Jack walking up, and then the other side of the door, David says, I got it. And he walks up. For some reason, he's not thinking, oh, I've been on the run all this time. I'm kind of a fugitive. I can just lie through my teeth with anybody that possibly comes across me. But there's still one guy out there looking for you, and he's not expecting him to show up any place, let alone Honolulu, Hawaii. Yeah. So then he's like, opens the door, and thank God Jack had turned around for 5 seconds just to wait for someone to answer. And then he immediately closes the door. And that music sting that happens when that happened, I laughed so hard in that moment. I was like, that's great. That's a great introduction to Jack this season.
Yeah. So, David immediately slams the door shut as because he saw the Jack's one behind it. Which I kind of wonder what Jack was thinking in his head when that happened. I'd be like, what just happened?
Door malfunction.
So Jack knocks again, and this time Caroline opens it, but David stays behind the door as Jack talks to her. He introduces himself and says he's checking out stories that a big hulking beast was spotted in the area. And Jack says that his paper is now offering $10K for any info leading to his capture, which it is $70K in today's money. That's a lot of money.
Oh, shit, I'll turn him in. Hell
yeah. Caroline says that she can't help him, and he gives her a business card to reach out to him if she sees Hulk. And Jack leaves, and the scene transitions to Hulk in a metal cage trying to get at David. That was the only time in the episode where we saw Jack McGee. I was actually really surprised that was the only time we saw Jack McGee this episode.
Me too.
I would have expected he would have stayed around there, asking more people questions.
Yeah, I thought that the plot was thickening when Jack showed up, and I thought he would be more integral to this episode. But it went right back to like, oh, we see Jack once an episode, by the way, and we don't really need him that much more. It's like, come on, it was just a reminder that he's out there. Like that's all that scene proposed. That was he just happened to the one house he came up to ask about the Hulk is the one that they that happened to be where David is living at. Yeah, really. Well, it's so nearby to that little luau that got a Hulk disturbance, so maybe that's the only reason he needed.
Yeah. The scene transitions to Hulk in a metal cage trying to get at David. And Caroline explains how these are the strongest steel there is. And David says he's trying to bend it. And Caroline says, use the gas tranquilizer. David tries to grab it. Or he runs to grab it. He starts turning it on, and Hulk stops trying to bend the bars. As in Hulk looks down at the gas on the ground. But then Hulk goes back to trying to bend the bars. And David puts on a gas mask as Caroline explains that the gas is making him weaker, and he shouldn't be able to bend the bars. But sure enough, he's able to bend them. And Hulk breaks free, and he growls at David again and flexes at him, which I thought was hilarious how he flexed at him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's obligatory at this point. He just has to do that when he comes through and he's, defeated something, even if it is just a couple of noodle bars. He's still gonna go and flex those sweaty desert muscles that he's got going on. It just shows that the paint don't run. That green paint is staying on for at least another 24 hours. It's probably impossible to get off.
Well, staying on in some situations, as there's as in one of in the one of these scenes where there's a metal vault at the bit of his the paint on his hand rubs off on the side of the door.
Yeah, I did not catch that. That's awesome. Hulk's just leaving green paint prints every once in a while. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Hulk comes out of this hypnosis frustrated, and he says he's too damn strong to be caged even in my imagination. But Caroline is so positive and encouraging and patient, and she calms him down.
Yeah, she tells him that we got to build up slowly, which this is very similar to what my therapist says whenever I want to talk about my trauma. He says we got to build up to it slowly. And I think this is a very similar situation, which is really cool to see. Yeah, there being a very similar situation to what I'm dealing with in my life. With what's in the Hulk series.
Oh hell yeah! And there's moments where they talk about loss in this episode where I relate to it fully. And it's, even a cheesy 70s sci-fi show can evoke a lot of emotion in me to just because we're just talking about the same thing and these life lessons and stuff. It's
definitely
impressive. Very cool.
Yeah. So Caroline assures him that they will find an image strong enough for you to hold on to. And David then says, "Okay, your turn." Right, as Caroline then narrates that as we look into her body going deeper and deeper. And as I wrote that, I realized how that sounds.
Well, it doesn't sound nearly as bad as describing the ironically the foreign substance in her body as Indians when I'm sorry, but this is their land first.
Well, yes, but I'm more so saying like saying
deeper and deeper. I know what you meant.
And deeper.
I was trying to skim past that, John. I didn't want to dwell on the deeper and deeper into Carolyn's body line, but you made us come back to it.
I wasn't going to change that note because I just thought it was really funny.
It's real. It happened. I'd be interested to know because we get a lot more clips from what looks like, because there's no way that the Hulk production took time to make an old Western film at the same time. They took clips from something, and I don't research this stuff because I assume you've got it in your notes or your trivia.
I don't actually have it.
Oh my god! Because I was like, is this from a movie? Because it has to be. These scenes are too elaborate and too many stunt doubles and stuff.
There was I do remember in the wiki the trivia that all of the scenes of the hurricane that happens later in the episode, those are taken from something else.
I had a feeling too. I was like, this looks spliced, just like the earthquake ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
These look spliced from something else. But no, that these elaborate visions that we're getting of her using this analogy to fight the foreign entity in her body. We get these clips of an old Western movie in black and white and everything, and it looks awesome. But it's clearly taken from something else, and I'd love to know what it was. It's interesting. Anyway,
so the scene transitions to the wagon and Indians scenario. And Caroline narrates, "One by one, the attackers are vanquished." The scene transitions back to real life, and nurse arrives to get Caroline's latest biopsy. Caroline tells him to take it to the pathology right away. And the scene then transitions to them walking on the beach, holding hands. And Caroline says that I have a good feeling about this pathology report, and
me too.
David says that's a very healthy attitude. They say at the same time, every day I'm getting better and better. I wrote that it's really cute. That I like them as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So
they're not quite David and Elena, but they are second best. I can definitively say that I like her second best as far as love interest goes.
Yeah, at least there was no creepy scenes in the ends with David and Elena.
Yeah, seriously, there was he didn't breaking into her home,
her house.
Breaking into her home and then manipulating her with his celebrity to stay with her for a month. Like, what the hell?
Yeah,
I live here now. Let me get you some lemon chicken.
Oh yeah. Oh, Caroline, something says sign of which I may be hearing wrong, but I think she says that it sounds like we had the same father, which that felt like a really weird line to me. Did you catch that?
I think the same type of father is more.
Yeah.
I don't know what the reference was.
What is this about?
I think we had the same father. Well, let's get married.
Oh God.
The laws aren't against that in Hawaii, are they? What are the laws here?
Oh, that's a let me see.
This is the part. Is this after the part where he talks about the being a boy who misunderstood the temperatures?
This is, I think, before that part.
Okay.
So David responds, yeah, to the thing about the father thing. They then see the kid from earlier who was amazed by Hulk.
Yeah.
And the boy starts imitating Hulk by growling and smashing a sandcastle.
Yeah.
I
love
absolutely love how cute this is.
We witnessed the 1970s first ever Smash Trivia John right there. That's what we saw, was this little kid going nuts for the Hulk seconds after hearing about him and imitating him in every way possible. This is a super fan. First super fan.
Oh yeah. So and David and Caroline, they both smile seeing this, and Caroline says, again, I did not catch exactly what she said here, but I think she said, to be honest, I'm not having kids. And David asks her if she's ever been married before, and she says, almost. I want you to wait before having kids. And David asks that, where is he now? And Caroline says that as Europe, they got married, has a couple of children. And she says that she wishes that she could have been married. She says, what a shame that most people don't take the time to appreciate a time till they're close to death.
Yeah.
And David starts laughing and says that I was just thinking. And this is where he goes into a story about how when he was a little boy, it mistaked the right temperature at which you should eat.
Yeah, he had them backwards. He had it as like instead of 96 or whatever, it was 69 or whatever. And so when he found out that his temperature was 102 or something, he thought that he was so off that he thought he was dying at the age of 10, and his whole family was acting normally, like nothing was wrong, and he thought that they had all been in on it and knew that he was dying, and they just didn't want to break it to him. And the idea that he was when he woke up the next day and he saw that sunrise, it was the sweetest thing he'd ever seen. I love that. I love the nerdiness of it, that he was like learning about science and the body and everything at the age of 10, and he was like fascinated by it, and he's so fascinated with the science while telling the story. I very much believe Bill Bixby's portrayal of what I would call Bruce Banner, but yes.
So his family in this story, they acted totally normal, making him believe that they knew he was a goner, but didn't want to let him in on it. Which is like,
why do you think your family would do that? Yeah, your family's a bunch of like cruel.
Yeah, things. That's really awful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like that story a lot.
Mm-hmm. So he says that. So since then, and he's always tried to take the time to smell flowers. Yeah, and hear. You're gonna say something?
I was gonna say, and they have this tender moment where they're holding hands, and she touches his face for a moment. They hold hands and walk down the beach, and then it's interrupted by a cut to a later scene where they have another conversation of the phone doing Chinese voices, which I was so annoyed by. I was like, no, don't go back a step.
Yeah. So they had, as they held hands walking down the beach, there was some lovey-dovey music like playing, which I think was really like kind of like symbolizing this is the start of them really getting into a deep relationship together.
Yeah.
So
and she said they cut to a scene where they're talking on the phone.
Yep.
They're talking about groceries, they're talking about food, but she takes the time in this scene. The camera slowly pans in, and Carolyn says, "David, a lot of why I'm feeling better is because you're around." Now, if they could easily have had that exact same dialogue line in the scene before, on the beach walk, they could have easily just had her say that. But because of this happening over the phone, where they're separated, I knew something was wrong. Something was going to happen. What did you think in this moment?
Well, for one, I was like she's taking a while to answer the door.
Yeah,
because there's this guy in the background knocking on the door, and she's just like, no, I'm gonna keep talking to you on the phone. And
true, people don't wait around anymore. That would have been that guy today. Nowadays, that guy would have been gone.
And David made a joke about it, about like he's not around. He's in a phone booth. Which I thought that was actually a pretty funny joke.
Call back to his terrible phone booth experiences in season 1. He's like, man, I'm not afraid of phone booths anymore.
So the person at the door gives her the report from pathology, and she slowly opens it, obviously scared of what might be inside. And Dr. Maxwell calls her while she opens it. And all of a sudden, she drops the phone, and we hear suspenseful music.
Yeah, the camera zooms in on her face, and she's so shocked and traumatized.
She's obviously not happy, but by what it says. As we then see David comes home, cheery. He brought her daisies, not knowing what just happened. Caroline doesn't respond when he calls for her. And David sees that the phone is hanging from a table and the papers are on the floor. David picks up the papers and reads them. He picks up the phone and calls Dr. Maxwell. He asks if what's on the paper is true, that the disease has advanced into an extreme level.
Yeah, and her life expectancy is calling for 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
Dead.
And Dr. Maxwell asks if she's there. David says no. And Dr. Maxwell tells him to give her a message to tell her, and then David hangs up. David runs outside calling her name. He finds a little boy on the beach, and the little boy says that she drove off, and he points him in the right direction. And so we then see Caroline is on the highway, and she's going 100 miles per hour.
Yep. She is living large, like she's got no care in the world, because these are her last days on Earth. She's getting rowdy and what's the word? Devil may care attitude. That's what she's got now.
Yep. So this highway that she's on, even though this is supposed to be a Hawaii, this is quite obviously California where they filmed this.
How can you tell?
Well, I can tell, though I've never been to Hawaii or California. The reason I can tell is because I recognize this highway from GTA 5.
That's amazing.
Which I know you played GTA 5 as well.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if you recognize that as well.
That's awesome. That makes perfect sense. I mean, there were a lot of scenes in previous episodes that could not have possibly taken place in in the cities that they were claiming to, which
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
for
Which
shooting purposes. I mean, even Seinfeld wasn't shot in
yeah,
New York.
I do find funny how they didn't even try to like mask that this is obviously a California, like outside of Los Angeles.
Well, GTA 5 hadn't come out yet, so
Yeah.
we didn't all have that knowledge of the landscape. This is
Oh,
the funky times. This is the
yeah.
music. We get a shot of Carolyn entering the closest bar to her home, essentially. This
Mhm.
disco club and this funky 70s awesome
Yeah.
place that she's gonna sit down and have a couple drinks. And she's accepting
Uh,
her fate and she's ready to party, and she orders
yeah.
a Mai Tai and she orders another, and
Yeah.
David's driving around aimlessly trying to find her.
Real quick, since we mentioned in GTA 5, I do want to say, you can, if you want to, you can watch as a video on Keith's YouTube channel of his mom playing GTA 5.
True, very true. And we can post that in the Twitter. Yeah, my mom doesn't play video games at all,
that
obviously.
video was hilarious.
It's a good time. It's a good time. She's a sweet lady. She never knew that she'd have so much fun causing so much havoc and destruction with a city bus. It's a really good time.
I have fun causing destruction with a city bus too in GTA 5.
Exactly. You never know until you try it,
Oh yeah. So
I can tell the next part if you want.
Oh, so this place that she stops at is called Swingers, and inside, as you said, there are people dancing, and
it's called Swingers.
Yep,
that's amazing. I didn't realize that.
She gets a table, and she tells that the waiter that I'll get double something, and he suggests a Mai Tai. She says perfect. It's so, and at this point, I wrote down, what is this place? I think this might be the most 70s looking place we've had on the show.
I know.
If
you ever wondered what decade this takes place in, this episode spells it out very well.
Oh yeah. I don't think I've ever seen in a bar that there are people just dancing around in it. It's like this tiny version of a nightclub, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a waterfront nightclub because everything on her little stretch of highways on the water.
Except that people are
island, right?
Except that people are going to dance in the middle of the day and which I don't think most people go to.
No, they don't.
I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. And the type of people you expect to see at those kind of places are exactly the type of people that she meets. And the guy with a shirt open so far that it might as well have a fly saunters over to her with a drink in hand and several gold chains around his neck, and he simply says, "Hello, I'm Brad," and invites himself to sit with her. And she laughs and said, "Oh yes, you probably are." I loved that. I loved that line. And they smile at each other, and Brad is they're kind of cutting it up on the dance floor soon after, and they're dancing with each other, and the vision's getting blurry because clearly Carolyn has had some drinks and it's catching up.
Oh yeah. And so we then they dance together some, and we see David stop on the side of the road, and David turns his car around and immediately finds this dancing bar that she's at.
Through this homing beacon. I think he basically figures, I chalked it up to him figuring that she could use a drink after the shitty news she got. So the closest outlet was this shitty dive bar.
Though he had before just drove past this place.
Yeah. I think it took him some time to come to that logical conclusion. Yeah.
So he runs inside, and he asks the waiter if he's seen her. The waiter says that she left with this guy and another couple. He doesn't know where they went though.
No, of
David
course not.
asks if there's anyone who might know where they went, and then the scene transitions to Caroline at a house with those other people, and the other girl who's there says that this place is a trip, and Caroline agrees. The two girls start dancing with Brad.
Yeah. Can I so at this point, Carolyn is so drunk that it's just one sarcastic line after another with these guys, and I love it. I was more into Carol this point where she was just fucking with these guys verbally. She didn't give a shit about where she was. She didn't care who she was with. She just kept saying things like the other woman was like, "Aren't they gorgeous?" And she's like, "Oh yes, their chest hair is so neatly brushed." That's really fucking funny. And then she's going on like Brad and her and the other woman, the unnamed woman, are spinning in a circle that made me feel dizzy. And Carolyn kind of makes fun of Brad's beautiful hair. She says, "How come I never get my hair to look like this?" He's like, "I'm just lucky, I guess." And they talk about woofers and sound systems, and they're gonna go out to the hot tub.
Yeah, and Brad tells the other guy who's there after the two girls head to the hot tub that they can get the cheap stuff out now.
Yeah, and I this part made me laugh so hard because he says we can get the cheap stuff out, and the other guy, nameless guy at this point, says, "I can dig it," and he puts his hand out. Did for the other guy
ever get a name?
No, he did not. So I am calling him the "I can dig it" guy for the rest of the episode. But this guy goes, "I can dig it," and he puts his hand out for a low five. Yeah. I've heard parodies of this kind of language used. I've heard Disco Stew from The Simpsons say "I can dig it," but it's really weird to hear it said in response to such a mundane thing. Like, we can get the cheap stuff out now. I can dig it. Like, if you're saying it like, okay, don't. He's basically just saying like these two sleazeballs are probably renting this extravagant beachfront property together in Hawaii to bring drunk women home. And in the daytime, I imagine that they are bickering about things like this. Like that guy will say that to anything. Like he's like, "Where'd this morning paper go?" And he just says, "I can dig it." And he says, "You can dig what? Do you even know what that means?" And the guy just looks sad, and he's like, I'm gonna fly home early tomorrow.
I think it's funny though how they so they're like, "Oh, we can get the cheap stuff out now because they're already drunk." I think Caroline at least would have cared if they would got the cheap stuff out at the beginning. She just wanted to get drunk.
She didn't give a shit. Yeah, they are con artists. They are pickup artists, and they're shitty people. And yeah.
I wrote at this point, and this was literally right before David arrived. I wrote, "This feels extremely sketchy. I hope that David gets here soon."
Yeah. Knock.
And so he arrives at the house, knocks on the door, telling the two guys he's trying to see his friend Caroline. And they try saying that she's busy. But David sees her upstairs, dropping her glass as the pain has returned, and the two guys try saying, "Well, there, you've seen her, you can go now."
Yeah,
David obviously does not leave here.
Yeah, David says, "Look, she's very sick. I need to take her home." And they say she's fine and she's staying here. Meanwhile, she's fallen down to the floor further. David pushes past them. Brad trying to stop him, but "I can dig it" guy comes in a clinch, and he pops a cork right into Brad's throat by accident, and champagne foam spurts everywhere.
Yeah,
I love that part.
It's so they knocked he was able to sneak past him was because of that champagne getting knocked from like. What just happened there? Why did they just throw
the "I can dig it" guy sucks. That's what I'm telling you. The "I can dig it" guy fucked up big time. He's gonna hear about it the next day. He's gonna be sleeping on the couch after that shit. That guy doesn't get bedroom privileges anymore.
So David runs upstairs, and but then the two guys try grabbing him, and they throw him around for a bit before finally throwing him from the balcony into a table downstairs. Brad tells the other guy to go down and show our guest out. The other guy heads down, coughing as he walks, which I was thinking at this moment that was going to mean something, but no, it's just happened to be coughing as he walked. And upon on getting to the table wreckage, Hulk emerges from it, which I absolutely loved. How they didn't show him in transforming; they just had him emerge.
Yeah, he was under that big ass table. He was transforming under there. It was such a huge coffee table.
That was really cool.
That was awesome. And that far out lady, she was just like, he gets thrown as David through the banister onto the coffee table, and that lady just goes far out, and then he bursts out from underneath, and the same lady goes far out. Like she has no other thoughts in her head. And we get a Hulk jump.
Yes. So first Hulk grabs the guy, throws him over the bar. The guy tries to throw a bottle at him, but it doesn't hurt Hulk. Yeah. And interestingly, the bottle doesn't break.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, that's a really thick vodka bottle. Yeah. Yeah.
So Hulk grabs a chair, throws it at him, and then Hulk turns his attention to Brad, and he jumps up to the second floor. And the other girl is up there, the far out girl, is amazed by Hulk, and I'm pretty sure that Hulk flexes at her.
Oh yeah, he flexes at her, and that's why she goes far out for the second time.
Which is just hilarious. Yeah.
And then Brad picks up a lamp, walks over to him.
But Hulk just immediately breaks it.
He grabs Brad by his luscious golden locks, and then suddenly they kind of come off real easy.
Yeah.
Brad turns out to be bald as an eagle. And Hulk looks confused at this wad of hair in his fist.
Hulk's reaction to this is just so hilarious. He's just like, what the hell?
Yep. And then Hulk shoves Brad into the bathroom. And Hulk grabs Carolyn and leaps to safety.
Yeah.
Fuck Brad.
When he threw Brad into the toilet, it just made, or did it crush the toilet?
I'm pretty sure he fell through a toilet or a sink. I'm pretty sure it was the toilet. Yeah.
I was like, wow, that was a strong throw. He crushed the toilet.
He like palmed his 5 head and just pushed him directly backward into the toilet. Yeah.
He grabs Caroline and they jump down. And as this happens, we got our damn Hulk kicked shot.
Yes, there has to be one every premiere episode at least.
So the other guy throws another bottle at Hulk as he's walking away, and so Hulk turns around, growls at him, and then puts Caroline down so that he can fight.
And to make sure that these guys do not get their deposit back when they leave this rental, because they do not own this place.
Mm-hmm. So Hulk grabs the fireplace with a lit fire and throws it at him. And the fireplace breaks a support beam, causing the upstairs to start falling. And the upstairs entirely falls, and the two people up there hang on to stuff as to not fall.
Yeah.
And Hulk leaves with Caroline.
I felt kind of bad for far out lady, but because she was just hanging and dangling from the floor above. She didn't really do anything wrong, but she wasn't all that concerned with David's well-being when he was thrown from a banister. So fuck her. She's fine, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're definitely fine. Like these people are so scared of falling, even though it's only like a 3 or 4 foot drop.
Very true. Very true.
It's just hilarious how like it looks like they're scared that they're gonna die if they let go. It's like, you're not gonna die. There's literally not even a full person in most people's cases is of distance to the ground.
Very true. Very true.
So Caroline starts waking up, still in pain, and Hulk doesn't know what to do, so he looks around, looks in both directions for help, but there's no one. Hulk puts his hand behind her to prop it up, and then turns back to David. The scene cuts to David putting her in bed and wiping her face off, and Caroline tells him, "I'm sorry," and she also says something else, but I didn't catch what she said here. And
I'm not sure either. I don't remember.
Yeah, and they then start kissing, and in the morning, and David Ed wakes up and she's not there. He freaks out, and he starts running around looking for her, and he finds that she's down at the beach playing frisbee with the kid. And so David walks down to the beach and just watches them smiling for a bit. The frisbee gets knocked by the wind as the kid and as the kid goes after it, Caroline gets sad, but then quickly gets happy again, it seems.
I think she's looking at the fact that the kid symbolizes a lot for the fragility of life, the youth that she maybe felt she missed out on, and the fact that she knows she doesn't have long for this world. So especially those 3 weeks that she was just given, like 2 to 3 weeks. So she's missing those days when she had her whole life ahead of her, type of thing. I think that's what it is. It's like she's joyous that he's having a good time, but she's also like super depressed about it.
So I
confliction.
After a little bit, I wrote down, okay, this is getting a bit creepy. Them watching the kid for so long like this. This is getting a little bit creepy.
It's whatever. It's the local kid. This kid doesn't clearly have any parents that are interested in hanging out with him, so they'll take him on and they'll watch him in case his parents ever decide to show the fuck up when he's playing in the water at the age of 10 with waves that could kill him.
Oh yeah. David walks up to Caroline and puts his arms around her to comfort her, and David tells her, "Marry me." And Caroline makes a joke about making an honest woman out of her and says, "Touching gesture." And David tells her, it's not a gesture. And Caroline says, "It doesn't make sense." David tells her, "But it would make me happy for however long there is." And she asks why. And so David tells her a story about a man between two tigers on a tree branch that's breaking, and that there was a wild strawberry that he reached out to grab. They tell each other that they love the other and hug. The next we see them right outside the house as they put flower necklaces on each other for the wedding, and we see them driving, and then we get the ceremony, which is at the front of a mansion. How do they afford a mansion wedding? That seems like a really expensive wedding.
It could be one of the, as someone who is currently planning like a wedding, I think it could be like a photo opportunity or a ceremonial thing that some mansions, what they'll do when they have no real other purpose other than being a gigantic home for not enough people to live in, or everybody could live in it, and they won't bother giving those homes to someone. They'll rent out the property and they'll be like, "Oh, wouldn't this make a great fancy backdrop for a wedding?" And that'll be a service they provide. So I bet you it's pretty cheap. They got a few mansions like that where I live, where it's like you can just rent out just standing in front of it. You can't go in, you can't even use their bathroom, but you can have a wedding ceremony in front of it. It's dumb.
Well, there's not really much point in explaining the wedding ceremony. It's pretty normal wedding stuff. It's about what everybody already knows of what a wedding is.
There's some like foggy camera techniques, and there's some slow mo, and there's some fast mo, and there's a lot of flowers being thrown around. Yeah, I know what you
mean. We see they signed a certificate of marriage. I'm wondering how that works when your husband is legally dead.
He definitely signed it, David Benton.
Which is not even a legal name. So how is that gonna work?
We're past legalities, man. He's practicing without a license. The motherfucker is just breaking rules left, right, and center. He's running around the country turning into a green monster, and nobody needs to know about it. It's the least of his problems.
After the wedding, we see Caroline in more pain, and they make some jokes, Oaks, then about how they should say their names, their last names, and then they hug and then say that they gotta get to work. And we then see a Hawk in a vault this time in the mindscape, and David.
I like that progression a lot. I liked that it was vault this time. That was cool.
Yeah, David walks around the vault. Sort of like how he walked around Caroline's house. It's earlier in the episode. It's not really it's not really as creepy this time, but I'm
call it out, David, for being shady like 2 hours ago. I love it.
Oh, that's Caroline assures him that he can't get out. Hawk is getting closer to getting out, but Caroline keeps assuring David. And David looks proud at the vault. But then immediately after looking proud, Hawk breaks the door down. And David shouts, no, he's getting out. And Hawk growls at him. But then back in the real world, Caroline says, yes, but it took him much longer this time. We see them.
He looks a lot less convinced this time around. Yeah. He looks a little more skeptical that this is going to ever work.
Which makes sense, as after not working all these times and and how many times he's tried to defeat Hawk. It's never worked. Yeah. It makes sense that he would lose faith in anything working. So we see them eat outside while listening to Mozart, and David is either wearing some really short shorts or no pants at all.
Those are short shorts, baby.
It feels weird seeing his legs.
When you're listening to Mozart and you're feeding your betrothed or your new bride strawberries while in your short shorts, I think you're allowed to wear the shortest shorts you want. They made this scene look like they had just joined a country club that I.
But I don't have a problem with this scene at all. It's just after us never even seeing him in shorts in general. It just feels weird seeing him. Ate so much of his legs.
And you're like, oh shit, maybe he's caked. Then you're like, oh, do I want to see the Hulk in short shorts? And you're like, it's never gonna happen. Yeah, never gonna happen. But I thought that transition was very strange. And then he introduces her to a new chemotherapy serum that he has made up himself. That's I would nickname the cavalry chemo.
So we see the wagon and Indian scenario again. She explains, so this time I'm the help. A new drug is on the way. They sit together inside, and David does his John Wayne impression again. They're very happy. They're hoping this new drug and the hypnotherapy is working. We next see that see, while David is looking at the microscope, Caroline starts shouting his name outside, and so David comes running. She's in the water trying to save the little boy from drowning.
This is where I wrote, where the hell are this kid's parents? Why are they forever in charge of taking care of this kid? They're playing frisbee with him. They're saving him from his life and death experiences. What the shit is going on with this kid's parents? Whatever.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So the two of them put him on the beach, and Caroline says as he must have been flipped over by a wave, and David goes to call a paramedic as Caroline tries to blow air into his lungs. And I find it really funny how you can tell that the boy is conscious because Caroline doesn't even have to keep his mouth open. He is opening it and closing it as she breathes into him.
I was not noticed. I didn't notice that at all. That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah.
Like every time she pulled her mouth away from him, and his mouth closed. So then and then he just opened it back up as she went back down to breathe into his mouth. It was like, I don't think that would be what would be happening here.
I didn't even, it's amazing. Damn, man. You noticed a lot this episode. I'm gonna pay more attention.
Next we see David brought Caroline a drink as she's getting in bed. And David says that the boy will be fine. And David starts saying how he doesn't think that was good for her. She stops him saying, "Don't be a doctor, be a husband. It's a lot more fun." As she pulls him under the blanket. I think we all know what they were doing.
And they start, as they said, playing doctor, which made me throw up a little in my mouth. But yes, they start having the sex. And I'm not sure that he's done that with anybody before. And we have never, at least this banner can have sex. Yes, unlike Edward Norton. Yes. And I mean, there's no confirmation whether Mark Wahlberg, jeez. You know who I mean.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Why can't I remember his name in the moment? What's going on? Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo's banner can, I assume, he'd be fine with having sex?
I don't know.
Edward Norton cannot. Because
I imagine he probably... I imagine it doesn't work exactly in the same way with Mark Ruffalo.
I mean, if this is supposed to be, you go ahead.
I know it is supposed to be the same Hulk, but
exactly.
But
he's learned.
If this were exactly the same, I feel like some things would happen when he takes a shower with Scarlett Johansson.
The actress, not the character. Yeah, for sure.
So I can't imagine it works the same way, or he might have turned into the Hulk in the shower.
Yeah, that's true. There might not be enough room in that shower. That is Hawkeye's house, so I can't imagine they've planned for that. Yeah, fair enough.
I can't imagine the in-play process. Hawkeye be like, "All right, we gotta make sure that the shower is big enough for if a hawking beast gets excited."
Somebody's gonna hide the zucchini. Yeah. And then we get some David Banner nightmares, where he has all the memories. It would appear that the Hulk remembers all the times that David tried to contain him, because the hypnosis treatments are showing up in his dreams and nightmares as he's kind of turning into the Hulk. So they walk into the desert, David calmly leading the Hulk this time, keeping a steady pace behind him. The dream turns into David's same dream as before of his wife, his first wife, and then shifts into sweet memories that he made with Carolyn. in the past few months. We can assume that they've been together months now, right?
Yeah,
With him
I
and Caroline?
guess.
Yeah, I mean, it
I would
feels like
guess so.
yeah. So and then
Well, no, it wouldn't be months because she had 7 to 8 weeks left to live at the start.
Right. Okay, so it's been weeks as opposed to
weeks.
Fair enough. The dream then transitions into Carolyn waving goodbye to him and getting on a Greyhound bus with the Grim Reaper driving.
Yes.
Which I thought was both terrifying and a little funny. I was like, "Oh, damn, this is dark."
Yeah, that was I love that.
Yeah. She's driving away and she's waving to him out the back of the bus, and there's these ominous tones being sung by this choir. It's very terrifying, very ominous. And David's chasing after the bus, and the bus is going to the other side, assumedly. And it flashes to the flaming car accident and back to Carolyn, and then over to other and replaying moments from his past, and the tension and the terror is building, and David is screaming in agony and terror, and we finally see David's eyes open, white and glowing in anger, and he's transforming in the bed next to Carolyn.
Yeah, like I literally, while those nightmares were happening, I was I literally wrote down while they were happening, I wonder if he's gonna wake up as Hulk. And I was right. He is turning into Hulk as he wakes up.
That was one of the few moments that I unfortunately saw in the pre-cap, and I saw him just next to her in bed as the Hulk, and I was like, shit, I know what's gonna happen now. Yeah.
So Caroline gets out of the bed scared, and this is a long time that they had David actually in the a Hawk makeup, which I absolutely loved them having him in the Hawk makeup for a while before it turning into Lou. The suspense is through the roof in this scene. Hawk gets up from the bed, tears his pajama top off, and smashes the nightstand.
He starts fucking that bedroom up.
Caroline leaves the room. Hawk throws a chair into the wall, which exploded something. I wasn't exactly sure what it exploded.
Oh, it was the TV. Wall. He threw a chair into the TV. The chair leg went into the TV screen and it sparked. Yeah.
Okay.
And then he walks by the bed frame and he bends a part of it that looks like a golden painted piece of hose that's attached to the rest of the golden bed frame, which I thought was really cool because he just it clearly was just that one part of the bed frame that you're not really supposed to look at, and it just convincingly bends as if he just bent a piece of metal. It was very smart the way.
For
a 3-second part, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He throws the mattress off the bed, smashes the glass table, and then Caroline comes back to the door, and so Hawk turns and starts slowly walking towards her. This is where he bends the frame, and this is probably the most terrifying we've ever seen Hulk.
Yeah.
We don't know. In any adaptation I've seen, I think this might be the most terrifying the Hulk's been.
Because you gotta wonder, is this because of that dream would suggest this Hulk is mad because he's being slowly contained better and better by Bruce and or not Bruce, David and Carolyn. So they're getting better at containing him. So maybe that's why he's so rageful. And he's kind of like, you're the one that's going to stop me. Yeah.
And he's particularly mad at Caroline because Caroline's the one telling David getting all these ideas in David's head, and I imagine it also is not helping in this situation that Caroline keeps being like, David, it's not freaking David. You're not talking to David.
She never learns that he doesn't respond kindly to that. But somehow she coerces him over to her side so she can take a sample of his tissue.
Yeah,
with whatever the hell that piece of that device was.
Yeah. She gets this the sample, and he then and understandably throws her off of him onto the bed, And she keeps telling him, it's all right, it's all right. And then she says, I'm sorry, I hurt you, David. And then we cut to Caroline looking in the microscope as David walks in and holding his hurt arm. And Caroline tells David, I want to show you something. And David asks, where did you get this? And
he doesn't remember last night at all.
holding her hand because he notices the bruise on her hand, and he figures out that it was from Hulk. Caroline tells him, I know we haven't controlled him yet, but we got the tissue sample. And she shows in the microscope. She says that your metabolism is 6 times normal. And so David says, we got to start experimenting quickly to combine the cell tissue with yours. And Caroline is starting. Caroline now is starting to have slurred speech as she tells him that she already has several different media for it to grow in, and it should prosper in one of them.
Yeah, she's acting manic. She's excited to be so close to a trial with the Hulk sample, but she's acting. Yeah. David's concerned with how her behavior has changed.
Yeah. And then the next thing, which is a sign that has been going on for a little while now, but I did not write anything down of it because until this moment in the episode I didn't think it was of any particular anything meaningful. There's a hurricane happening outside.
Yeah, it feels like it came out of Left Dr. Fields.
Yeah. So
it was a joke. You see what they're Never mind. Her last name's Fields.
I was guessing asking the left arm of the Drew or David. David in he got cut by Caroline.
Fair. The hurricane warning comes up.
So yeah, we hear a warning on the radio about it. We also see like it from a space station, which was a really weird. See the space station thing in it.
It was.
So weird. Then Caroline goes over to David, mad because the radio and the TV aren't working, but the wind is really picking up.
Yeah.
And David tells her, you look pale. Your symptoms are accelerating since you saved the boy. And Caroline gets mad at him, asking, what the hell did you expect me to do? Let him drown?
Exactly.
And Caroline starts crying, and David goes to comfort her. And she asks, where do we stand? And as he says that your cells seem to be acting positively in cohabitation with mine. He tells her that he thinks in a sterilized environment like a hospital, we can win the battle against this disease. So Caroline says, I think we better hurry. David calls the hospital also that they expect them, and then they start are driving. They get to their car to start driving to the storm to get there. They hear on the radio in the car, since they haven't heard anything about this hurricane, and because their radio and the TV weren't working inside, that both the roads are flooded and how this is a hurricane. And this scares Caroline, but David still obviously tries to drive them there. Caroline has the pain again as they're driving, and David holds her hand, saying, "It's not far now." And Caroline starts shouting, "David, David!" as she opens the door and falls out. She starts running away from David, and David runs after her. David gets hit by a car. He keeps running, now limping, and Caroline runs down an alley as an electrical box is breaking off the side of a building. and Caroline gets past it, but David is stuck behind it. Caroline, and as she keeps running, says, I this is what I think she says. I'm not entirely sure because I couldn't hear quite well with the rain, but I think she said, "Help me."
Yeah, I think she does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and David basically, like, he's essentially in the water next to that transformer, that electrical box that had fallen. I'm pretty sure he's getting shocked.
Yes.
And the Hulk comes out of this anger, comes out of this moment, easily lifts the transformer and tosses it out of the way. And Caroline's still calling out for David. Pretty sure she's having a seizure. She's shaking and unable to yell his name. And Hulk bends some bars to get to her, and he holds her in his arms. She calms down long enough to say goodbye, essentially. She says, "At least we never gave up trying. I'll miss you, David." Yeah. And then she dies in the Hulk's arms.
Yeah.
The Hulk hugs her close in the wind and the rain. I like that a lot. It's very sweet.
He just keeps holding her as she dies in his arms, and Hulk turns back to David, still holding her tightly, and then the scene transitions to the little boy who on the now debris covered beach. And the boy sees David sitting with a packed bag and decides to go over and sit with him. The boy asks if his wife is here, and David tells him no, she died. And he asks if it was a storm. David said that she'd been very sick. The boy asked if she was a doctor, right? David says yes. The boy tells him that he wants to become a doctor when he grows up. That maybe he can find a cure for what made her sick. That he wouldn't even have been around to try if she hadn't saved his life. And the boy gets up, tells him how his mother says, "People never die as long as somebody remembers them." And the Lonely Man music starts playing as the boy walks away from David, and the episode ends as David sits there crying.
And he sits there in contemplation. It's a very sweet moment. Because like this to me is like when David experiences trauma, he's also experiencing examples in his life of how to be a hero. Because Carolyn Fields is a great example now of someone else who was trying to do things right, but also was on a ticking clock and still chose to risk her life to save the life of another. Still chose to take time with teaching David the hypnosis things that could make him then maybe prolong his life and help other people. Like there's a lot of things reflecting like the people that he meets. He's basically learning more and more how to be a hero, and maybe how to look at Hulk as a hero too. But it's like if she didn't even try to save that boy, even though it could then prolong or ruin her chances of surviving, then there's no reason for him to get rid of the Hulk when he could be saving people with him. So it's like this nice little hero lesson that I think is important to the episode. It's one of the reasons I love this episode. What do you think?
So I think this is a great episode. I definitely I wouldn't say it's my favorite though. I think there's a lot to love in this episode, especially Hulk and David actually interacting with each other.
Yes.
But the one thing that I didn't really like was how slow the episode felt. And it's a lot more like sad and romantic drama than a regular Hulk episode. And
True.
I'm not really a big fan of those kinds of movies. So I don't so even though I think it was made really well, it's not like something that I would probably really want out of a Hulk episode. But even though I do think it was done really well. I think the ending was fantastic with that little boy on the beach.
Yes, that wise prophetic 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Why did he know so much? Why was that kid so good?
And
That's amazing.
I love how we got a hell of a lot of Hulk in this episode.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And I think this is only the second time that a character died in the show, I believe. And it also happened to be a love interest and in a premiere, which I found that interesting. I kind of wonder if that's going to become a tradition that that the only times there'll be people who die will be in premieres.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is like he's gone through so much. Like he's already kind of lost 2 wives because of Elena being so integral to his life and his studies and his work, and her being someone he could trust with the Hulk, knowing about the Hulk and everything, and everything that started out the whole show. And yet he lost her right away. And now this is kind of, I feel like this was kind of a reset or a tease to, like I said earlier, to kind of let new viewers know what the stakes are and what kind of show it was going to be.
Oh yeah.
And kind of like we kind of got like a retcon of how his relationship with his wife happened too, because you come into the show in season 1 and his whole relationship with his wife has already happened and gone, because she's gone already, and so you never see him happy with a wife like that. And then you get this example of a new wife that is also helping him with his cause, and also a scientist, and all these other commonalities like Elena, like it's almost like a little reset that they get to do. But the stakes have never been higher as far as him trying to not cure himself so much as cope and treat his illness or his difficulty. But I wouldn't say it's my favorite episode either. I would say that it gave me so many things that the first pilot episode maybe didn't, but as well as it wasn't quite as fun as your typical middle episode either. So there's some fun points. I love him beating up the disco sleazeballs. That's a good time. The whole disco sleazeball scene in general, and Carolyn making fun of them and her sarcastic tone, like it really put Carolyn as Fields ahead as far as one of my favorite love interests that he's had. I'm excited to see.
Definitely like 100 times better than the love interest of the finale of the season 1.
Yes, agreed. I found that woman to be a little nauseating at times, but they did have some nice beach moments, just like Carolyn and him did. Anyways, it was just a different beach. Hawaii just has apparently better beaches than, what was that?
Texas.
Was it? Texas. There you go. Texas beach. There you go. Any Texas fans of the podcast can come for me. Hawaii's better. Deal with it. This is coming from a Canadian who's never been to either, so you can take that for what it might not be. Anyways, no, I enjoyed this episode, but as you say, it's not my favorite either. But it's a great start to season 2.
Yeah. Do you understand what I mean though? Like it being like a bit slow, and it doesn't feel like a Hulk episode. Like I would say like it feels more closely to like a The Fault in Our Stars, ours sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely to me, it's a bit of a sentimental return to form of the first episode we got, and maybe a couple of episodes in season 1, but not the majority of the first season. The majority of the first season had a lot of fun little episodes that, I mean, to me, this was a setup. This episode was a setup to what we're to expect from season 2. He's going to continue to maybe I hope he continues with the hypnosis. I hope he continues to put himself under and maybe communicate with Hulk, because we ended this episode with him following him in the desert as opposed to the beach.
Hopefully that happens. But I do know that if it does happen, we won't see it happening because I know that there's only a few times throughout the entire show that
they meet.
They actually meet each other, and the next time is in, I think, the season 3 premiere.
Oh my god, that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then what I'm more excited about than anything is a true return to form of the majority of season 1.
But I just hope that he's not like constantly saying that he has to like basically make the Hulk not exist anymore, at least.
Yeah.
And like maybe he can say that he's trying to control the Hulk, I guess, and that,
he's trying to work with him
throughout the season and not.
Yeah,
I think that will definitely be good and not good, because if after this episode they just go back to him to acting the same way he acted about the Hulk in the first season, that would that really would not feel right.
It'd be a step backwards for sure.
Yeah. So as I always have, I have some trivia from the episode. From IMDb, we have that apparently this was released in theaters as The Bride of the Incredible Hulk in Europe and some other countries.
Oh, wow. They treated it like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
That's amazing, because the Frankenstein series is famous for having Frankenstein 2, 3, and then The Bride of Frankenstein, and that being that's cool. I love that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Love those parallels.
And then Mariette Hartley won an Emmy award for her performance as Dr. Carolyn Fields in this episode, which she definitely deserved that Emmy.
Yes. No, she did great. There were some cheesy points where, like, how are you supposed to act like you're having a seizure during a hurricane while running around? Like, that's writing. That's a writing problem. They're like, okay, this is what you're doing. Deal with it.
Definitely.
And then she's like, okay, I'll do my best. Like, how would you even deal with that? But like, that's not her fault. She did the best she possibly could with that script. Yeah, I agree.
So the date on the marriage certificate between David and Caroline and reads September 22nd, 1978, which this is the date that this episode aired in the United States.
Okay. Good. I'm glad that it wasn't as pushed along. I thought for some reason they had gotten into like 79 or 80, but I'm glad this is still taking place in the 70s.
So when David is thrown from the top of the stairs, as the transformation music isn't played, and in the commentary for this episode, it was apparently said that that we didn't play the music for this Hulk out because based on the scene, you already know what's going to happen.
I would imagine it does get less and less. It's almost more fun to have you surprised by simple changes like that to the formula.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then some trivia from the Hulk Wiki. So this episode contains the most screen time featuring the Hulk of any episode. There's 4 Hulk outs in total, which is the same number as in the Death in the Family episode, in addition to the dream sequence and flashbacks to the pilot episode. And the next thing is that Marionette at Hartley and Lonnie Anderson and from Of Guilt, Models, and Murder have both said that that Bill Bixby was their favorite actor to work with.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age, it's nice to hear an actor was nice to work with that you see from long ago. Not another friggin' John Wayne scenario.
Yeah. So Russ Grieve plays Dr. Maxwell, but he's only credited as conservative man.
He had such a small part. He was like the back of his shoulder was shown.
Yeah. This and this was Russ Grieve's his final television role, as he passed away 2 years after this episode aired. Yeah. So rest in peace, Russ.
Rest in peace, Russ.
All right. So the answer to the trivia question from earlier was the Culver Institute.
So I was exactly on the money. That's what I said earlier, right?
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Clever.
Culver Institute, piece of cake in Boulder, Colorado.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, I'm so happy to have to finally get back to having doing these 70s Hulk episodes with you, Keith. I'm thankful for you taking the time out to come on. Is there any final things you'd like to say before I end off this episode?
I can't wait for episode 2, and I'm glad to be back as well.
All right. And just real quick before I end off this episode, I just want to let everyone know that that after this episode comes out, I will be taking a couple weeks break from doing the show. I'll still be doing some stuff behind the scenes, but I will not be putting out episodes every week. So I want to just take a moment as well to thank you guys all for listening to the podcast. As this like a week or so ago now, I hit 500 listens to the podcast, which was really cool. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. And if you like this gamma analysis, please give a 5-star review on either on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. I'd love to hear your thought on the episode, so please let me know. And if you'd like to listen to more from me, please subscribe. Many more gamma analyses from me coming, so keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Smash Trivia John, signing off.